The cursed child of Orita village. Deep in the heart of Orita village, where the trees whispered secrets and the rivers carried old stories, lived a boy named Temi. He was like any other child, full of life, laughter, and dreams. But what Temi did not know was that his birth was marked by an ancient curse. 12 years ago, on the night he was born, the sky turned blood red. It was an eclipse, a rare event that the village elders feared. According to legend, any child born under an eclipse had the touch of the Okudoya, the wandering spirits of the dead who never found peace. To prevent such a child from being claimed by darkness, a special blessing was required. But on that fateful night, the village was in chaos, and the ritual was never performed. Temi's 12th birthday arrived, and with it, an uneasy feeling. The village air was thick, and the animals in the forest were restless. That evening, as the sun disappeared, a strange wind blew through the village, whispering his name. Temi! Temi, come to us. At first, he ignored it. But as the night deepened, a hunger unlike anything he had ever felt consumed him. His stomach twisted, not from the need for food, but from something darker, something unnatural. His hands felt cold, his breath shallow. When he looked at his reflection in a pot of water, his skin was pale, his eyes hollow. Then he heard it again, the voice, calling him into the forest. Without knowing why, Temi stood up and walked out of his hut. The moon above was a deep, angry red. His mother, Mama Temi, had fallen asleep by the fire, unaware that her son was leaving. His feet moved on their own, leading him toward the sacred Iroko tree at the edge of the village. The villagers believed that the tree held the spirits of the dead, and no one dared go near it at night. But Temi could not stop himself. At the base of the tree, the earth was cracked, as if something had recently crawled out of it. A deep hole yawned open, and from the darkness, skeletal hands reached for him. "You are one of us now." Temi wanted to scream, but his voice failed him. His body trembled as an invisible force pulled him forward. His skin turned gray, his eyes glowed a sickly green, and his breath became mist. He could feel himself slipping away. At dawn, the villagers awoke to an eerie silence. The birds did not sing. The goats refused to leave their sheds. And worse, some of the village chickens were found dead, their bodies cold and their eyes hollow. Mama Temi rushed to her son's sleeping mat, only to find it empty. Fear spread like wildfire. The old herbalist, Baba Onaya, was summoned. With his walking staff in hand, he examined the footprints leading away from the hut. His face turned grim. "These tracks begin as a child's," he murmured. "But they end as something else." The elders gathered quickly. They knew what had happened. Temi was no longer just a boy, he was Okudoya, a child of the dead. "There is only one way to bring him back," one elder said. "We must perform the forbidden ritual. The blood of a loved one must be spilled to break the curse." Mama Temi gasped. "No. There must be another way." But the elders had made their decision. They prepared for the ritual, sharpening a knife and gathering herbs. Mama Temi, refusing to accept their methods, ran toward the river to seek another path. At the river, she fell to her knees and cried out to Yomoja, the water goddess. "Please, Great Mother, save my son," she pleaded, offering her most precious possession, her grandmother's coral beads. The river churned violently, and from its depths rose a silver fish with glowing eyes. It spoke in a voice that was both soothing and powerful. "Love can break the curse," it said. "Find him before sunrise and remind him who he is." With renewed hope, Mama Temi ran into the forest, her heart pounding. She followed the path to the Iroko tree and found her son. He stood there, motionless, his eyes glowing green, his skin a lifeless gray. His shadow twisted unnaturally behind him, no longer moving with his body. Tears streaming down her face, Mama Temi ran to him and pulled him into her arms. "Temi, my son." Remember who you are, she sobbed. At first, there was no response. Then, a single tear rolled down Temi's cheek. His fingers twitched. His breathing, once shallow, grew stronger. The dark shadow behind him howled in pain as cracks appeared across its surface. With a final, terrible screech, it shattered into nothingness. Temi collapsed into his mother's arms, his skin warm once more, his breath steady. The curse had been broken, not by blood, but by the power of love. When Mama Temi carried him back to the village, the elders were astonished. They had never seen an Okudoya return from the darkness without a sacrifice. The gods have shown mercy, Baba Onaya said, bowing his head in respect. From that day on, the villagers never spoke of the Okudoya again. But on nights when the moon turned red, Mama Temi would hold her son close, whispering prayers to Yamoja, ensuring that the curse never returned. And in the silence of the forest, where the shadows stretched long beneath the trees, something unseen continued to watch, waiting for another eclipse.